In this video, we are going to complete the chapter 9 of class 9 social science. That is the price puzzle, what drives the market. So first, the main important aspects which we are going to study are why do prices of the goods fluctuate every day, and who will decide what a mango or wheat would cost, and how do the buyers and sellers interact in order to balance the economy. So first, whenever you hear the word goods, you have to remember that goods is all the movable property. So every movable property will come under the category of goods except money and actionable claims. Except money and actionable claims, the rest of all the movable properties will come under the goods. Even the growing crops and all these things will also come under the goods. With this understanding, first we are starting with understanding what is demand and the law of demand. So whenever you study about the market and the economy, there are two important aspects which you need to study. That is the demand and the supply, which we are going to study in this chapter. So now starting with demand, which is the law of demand as well. So first starting with what is demand. So demand is the quantity of a product that the consumers are willing and able to purchase at a particular price at a particular period of time. Okay, so important factors are what quantity of product the consumer, that is the buyer, is willing to buy. It's not just that he's willing or not. If he likes the product, it will not become the demand of that product. If they're able to buy, that is they need to have the purchasing power. That is they have to be able to buy the product, then it will become the demand of the product at a particular price for that particular duration of time. So simply, if someone wants a product, it will not become the demand of that product. Okay, so coming about the law of demand. So law of demand, in the sense, it is an inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. So law of demand is the inverse relationship between the price and the quantity which is demanded. For suppose if you go to buy vegetables in the market, if their price is low, then you prefer to buy more quantity of fruits. If their price is more, you prefer to buy less quantity. So that is what is stated in the law of demand, that there is an inverse relationship. They are not directly proportional, they are inversely proportional to one another. That if the price reduces, the quantity will increase, and if the quantity will reduce, the price will be increased. Okay, so this creates a downward slope with the demand curve. So if you have a demand curve, it will be sloping downwards. This is because of the inverse relationship which you have. And the other important thing is when you speak about an individual consumer, when you speak about one consumer, suppose you bring up a particular person and speak about their consumption, then that will become the individual demand. When a group of people together are evaluated together, the potential buyers at the different prices, the quantity of something is calculated, then it will become the market demand. So if you're calculating for one particular person, individual person, it will become individual demand. If you're calculating it with more than one person, with a group of buyers, then it will become the market demand. So how is the price of a thing determined? Or all these things will have various factors. So the price of a product or the demand of a particular product will be having various factors. That is, the determinants will be many. So the first aspect is the diminishing marginal utility principle. This is a principle where as the consumer consumes more items or more units of a product, the additional satisfaction derived from each succession unit will decrease. So hence the buyers are willing to purchase additional units only at a lower price. So how do the demand of a product? What is the factor? The first factor is the diminishing marginal utility principle. That is, for example, if you have 5 mangoes with you and you're very hungry, then the first mango which you eat will give you the utmost satisfaction. You will be satisfied at the great, at the topmost level. When you eat the second one, it will be reduced a little, and at the point of time when you eat your last fifth mango, it will be like you're just eating it for namesake. You won't be having the satisfaction which you had when you're eating the first mango. So that is a diminishing marginal utility principle, that the utility, that satisfaction which you get from the first one will not be the same as you get from the fifth one. It will be reducing, that is, it will be diminishing. So when you have to purchase additional units, you will always love to purchase them for lower prices, right? So at the start of the mango season, you'll be interested to buy at whatever price they give the mangoes. But at the end of the season, you come to a point where after eating a lot of mangoes, you would only prefer to buy them at lower prices because you're no longer interested in it as much as you were in the starting of the season. So that is what is the first thing which will influence the demand. And next is a consumer income. That is, how much you are able to earn will also determine what kind of products you buy. So if you have more income, you will love to buy more products, or you'll love to buy more quality products. So for normal goods, higher income will increase the demand, and for inferior goods, higher income will decrease the demand. So there is a two kinds of goods which you need to understand. That is the normal goods, the ones which you use every day, and the inferior quality goods. So for example, if your income has increased, then what will happen? You will tend to buy the normal goods, normal proper quality goods. But if your income has reduced, then you would go for inferior quality, because your income is less and you want to spend it properly, or you want to reduce your expenditure, so you will go for inferior goods. So if your income is less, then the inferior goods will have a plus. You will buy them more. If your income is more, then the use of the normal ones is increasing. So that is the relation. The relation of this consumer income will be different to the normal goods and as well as to the inferior goods. Next factor is the seasonality and the preferences. So if winters come, then people would love to buy the sweaters, jackets, and all these things. In summer season, their sales will be reduced. So that is the seasonality which you see. And when it comes to preferences, if suppose whatever the rate might be, you prefer to write with one particular pen. So that particular brand pen is what is, with that pen you're comfortable to write. So whatever the price may be for that, as long as it's affordable to you, at what extent you'll go and buy that pen will also determine the demand of the product. Because whatever the write may be, since you have the preference to write with that pen, you'll go and buy it. So that will also set the demand of that particular pen. And the preferences which people have, the taste they have, and all these things is what will also determine the price of a product. And when new academic year starts, then obviously you people will all go and buy new books. You will go and buy your notes, pens, and all these things. So their demand will increase at the start of the academic year. After that, they'll start to reduce slowly. So that is where it will reach the peak during the start of the academic year. So that is the seasonality and preferences which will influence the demand of a particular product. And next is the future price expectations. So for suppose if people think that in the future a particular product will reduce its price, the price of particular product will reduce in the future, then obviously people would not buy it right now. When it is going to reduce, that is when they'll buy. So even if they are in the need of this particular product now, they'll reschedule it to the future date because they expected that the future price will be reduced. So the future price expectations will also determine the demand of that particular product. And next is the types of related goods in demand. So there are basically two kinds of goods, that is substitute goods and complementary goods. Substitute goods are the ones that can replace each other in consumption. So when the price of A rises, the demand for substituted goods B will increase. So this is also one of the factors which will determine the demand of a product. For example, if the cost of tea has increased, or it has increased to such considerable levels that it has become equal to coffee, then obviously people would start to prefer to go for coffee itself. Or if you have mangoes and bananas in a market, if the cost of mangoes is increased so considerably, then people would choose their alternative, substitute goods, and go for bananas. So then also the demand for bananas will increase. So that is how things will work in a substituted goods. And next one is complementary goods. That is, if you take one product, the other product is what you have to take, which is an essential for that product. For example, if you buy a car, it is obvious that you either have to go with petrol, diesel, or if it's EV car, you have to go with electricity. So that is the complementary goods mentality. So if you have a notebook, then you will obviously need a pen or a pencil. That is a complementary goods which you need. So goods that are used together to satisfy single want. In order to write, you need a notebook as well as a pen. So these both are complementary goods for you to satisfy a single want. So when the price of goods A raises, demand for the complementary B will decrease. So for suppose if the prices of a car is increased considerably, then people would reduce to buy the cars. So in relation to this, even the sales of petrol and diesel will also reduce considerably. So that is the things which also influence the demand of a product. Okay, so now moving to supply and the law of supply. So first, what is supply? The total quantity of a product sellers are willing and able to offer for sale at a given price. So the demand was something which is related to the buyers. Supply is something which is related to the sellers. So the quantity of product which the seller is willing and is able to offer for sale is the for a given price at a particular period or duration of time is known as supply. So what is law of supply? The direct relation between the price and quantity supplied. So if the price will rise, the quantity supplies will be increased. That is, higher profits intensifies the production. So if you feel that the farmers who have grown wheat that particular year have got more profit, then the next year obviously people will increase the supply of wheat because they think that they'll get profits from it. So that is how the supply, the price and the quantity of that particular product will be having a direct proportion. So if the prices will increase, then the supply will also increase. Okay, so now the key determinants of supply are the production cost. That is, at what cost, what is the cost which is happening in order to produce the product, and what is that you are getting when you sell it in the market, and the technology which you have. So if you have drip irrigation, it will boost your yield, so that will also determine how much supply you're going to get, and the number of sellers and the natural conditions will also affect the supply of a particular product. Okay, so other things are the price of related goods, the number of sellers, and all these things, and the future expectations will also be there in order to supply the things. Okay, so there is a difference between having the stock and available to supply, because stock is something which is available to with the seller, but he is not willing to sell that product at the particular price. So there is a difference between stock and supply. Supply is something which the seller is willing to give for sale, but stock is something which is not for sale or he has for himself. So there is difference between supply and stock, which you need to remember. So next, moving to the market equilibrium. What is market equilibrium? When supply meets the demand curve, then that is called the market equilibrium. So market equilibrium is the price point where the quantity demanded and the quantity of supply will become equal. So the market clears with no shortage or no surplus. So there will be no less supply and more demand, or more demand and less supply. So everything will be in a proper equilibrium, proper proportions. So for suppose, when is the market equilibrium achieved? The market achieves, for example, if a price of the particular product is 30 rupees per kg and the quantity demanded is 15 and the quantity which is available, which is supplied, is also 15, then the price is stable. So it will be a proper equilibrium point. But this is not going to happen each and every time. So for example, if the price is 20, the quantity demanded is 25 and the quantity which is supplied is only 5 kgs, then there will be an increase of the price because there is a excess demand, shortage is present, scarcity of the product is present. So you only have 5 kgs to give, but the people demanded for 25, then obviously the price will be increased and the one who is able to pay a higher price will be able to get the particular product. And the next one is if the price is 40 and the quantity demanded is only 80 kgs. Okay. And the quantity supplied is 22. Then what they're willing to give, what they're willing to sell is 22 kgs, and what people are willing to buy is only 8 kgs. So there is a surplus. So the price will fall because they wanted to sell it at some or the other point. They wanted the stock to go. So that is what happens in the morning market and the evening markets. For suppose if you go to market for vegetables, in the morning the price of vegetables will be higher because there will be more buyers at that particular point. But when it comes to evening, the sellers, however, want to sell off their products at the end of the day. So the evening markets will considerably have less prices for the vegetables. So therefore, the proper market equilibrium will not be present in real life. So there will be dynamic prices in real world markets. So for example, if you go for the airline and travel tickets, so if you book one day before, the price of the product will be, the cost or the tariff will be different when you do the booking 15 days prior to your flight. And the festive discount sales will also be present, and the daily vegetable markets as mentioned. So the prices are higher in the morning due to fresh arrivals and heavy buyer rush, while the prices fall by evening to clear the perishable stock. Next is coming to the government intervention in markets. So government need to intervene in markets in order to help the consumers as well as the buyers to have a proper fair market. So in order to implement this, they have come up with a price ceiling, that the maximum price is fixed by the government. So this sets a legally mandated maximum price below the equilibrium to protect the consumers. So the essential medicines, food grains and life-saving vaccines will be applied with the maximum price cap. But the side effect is that it creates market shortage where the demand is more than the supply, as sellers earn lower profit. Since there's a cap on this price, so usually sellers will not be interested in doing the product if the price is not set properly, or they're not able to earn more profits. Then there will be reduced supply and there will be an increased demand, due to which there will be a shortage in the market. So that is the side effect for this, but this is an important principle. And the next thing is a price floor. What is the minimum price of a product? So this sets a legally mandated minimum price above the equilibrium in order to protect the producers. So the minimum support price for crops or the minimum wage laws are the ones which come under this price floor, where below this price you are not able to get that particular service for suppose the land or that particular crops, labor or crops. But the side effect is it can create surplus because the supply is more, crops because they have minimum price, so the supply will be increased but the demand will be reduced. So this will require the state procurement. State have to take in order to help the farmers in such situations, because the minimum price will not have the demand as expected by the suppliers. So in order to look through all these unfair practices and all these things, if you have the banking sector it is controlled by RBI, Reserve Bank of India. And if you have the consumer right protection, it comes under the Central Consumer Protection Authority for the violation of consumer rights and unfair trade practices. And for the telecommunication sector, we have the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. And to see the securities market, stocks and all these things, we have SEBI, that is the Securities and Exchange Board of India. So these are all the important things you need to remember. So next, moving to the price controls and market distortions. So there will also be an increase of monopoly. Monopoly in the sense whole of the market is controlled by two or more individuals, one or two individuals. So if that is what is done, then there will be no competitors, and so there is no proper price, competitive price will not be given. So due to this, there will be price distortions. So if the wheat cap is at 20, but when the market rate is 30, then farmers lose profit income. Because in the market, if it's 20, then the farmer will get even less. Next is reduced incentive. Farmers avoid investing in better seeds because they have got reduced income. So therefore, they'll be using low inferior quality seeds, and they'll be not doing proper harvesting methods and lowering the total national harvest. And there is a compliance burden that excessive permits and license rules will increase the costs of small entrepreneurs, and there will be an increase in the black marketing as well, because artificial shortages often give rise to hoardings and illicit trades. So there is a problem of monopoly, due to which they have increased the price caps and price ceiling kinds of things. But there are also risks of excessive intervention, which are as follows. So with this, we have come to the end of the chapter. That is, we have studied about the market mechanisms and the prices that are not set. It's not just that they're set randomly, they are properly having a continuous interaction of the consumer demand and seller supply, and the equilibrium balance and the role of governments and key economic terms, that is the demand, willingness plus ability, and diminishing marginal utility, the substitutes and complementary goods, the dynamic pricing, the price ceiling versus the price floor. So this is all you've learned in this chapter. That is the price puzzle, what drives the market.